Boogeyman band coming round the bend. Is Boogeyman band. Is Boogeyman band.
Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends, and thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. Happy Halloween to all my fellow fiends. Now, this video is going to be talking about the David Gordon Green Halloween Trilogy, which concluded last year with Halloween Ends, a very divisive film among horror fans. There were people that loved it, like me, and there was a lot of other people that really hated it and felt like it was not a proper ending to what was promised to be a epic battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. I had also wanted to talk about the Abby Bernstein book that just came out a couple weeks ago, focused on the trilogy and sort of had a really in-depth behind-the-scenes look at like everything that went into it, from the writing, the directing, the special effects, and it broke it all down into for each film. I just haven't been able to finish that book. I've read about 60 pages of it. I definitely recommend people picking it up and checking it out, because it is an amazing book and it really goes in depth onto the three films in this this trilogy. And I remember when 2018 came out, I remember going to see this with my brother-in-law and my wife and just being so fucking excited to see a brand new Michael Myers film. And I still remember the opening title sequence. I got emotional. I started crying. It was so amazing to hear that score, to see a brand new Michael Myers film after nearly 10 years. I like that this was a very different depiction of Laurie Strode. This wasn't trying to go the age 20 route where she had sort of, faked her death and sort of hidden away, changing her name and everything. This woman stayed in Haddonfield, was, ready to take Michael Myers down. And if he ever came after her again, and sort of she was just a badass in this movie. And I also thought that Andy Matichak as Allison was great. I love Toby Huss. I thought he was fantastic as Ray, and I was a fan of him from the show Carnival. And Will Patton, can't say enough great things about him. I've always been a fan of him. And of course, we had the amazing James Jude Courtney stepping into the role of Michael Myers, aka The Shape. I think they did a lot of things really well here. A lot of people had problems with the humor in this. I didn't. I thought the humor worked. The Sartain issue, I know a lot of people didn't like the character of Sartain, especially when he puts on Michael Myers' mask. And some of that is kind of weird, but it never really bothered me, and I never understood why people had a big issue with it. Also, I love the showdown at the end between Laurie and Michael in the house. I also love the way they trap him. I think that was badass, and that was sort of, it's still, I think, one of the coolest moments in any Halloween film, when they trap him in the basement. That it was, the whole point was to trap him. That's what the house was. And the issues I have with the film, biggest one for me is still Halloween 2 not being in the timeline. I think it could have worked. They could have said that the whole thing about him and that Michael and Laurie's relation was wrong. There is a throwaway line between Allison and her friends. They bring up that fact, and she said, no, that was just a rumor. I don't understand if that was going to even be addressed. Why couldn't they have just said that, Halloween 2 happened? Michael specifically going after Laurie was scary. And in this, he was not after her at all. Sartain wanted them to be together, and he wanted to see them together. That was the whole motivation. It was Sartain's motivation, not Michael's. And Sartain initiated the escape on the bus. So, it takes a little bit away from Michael, in my opinion. But again, that's just my own personal take. I still think this film is balls to the wall awesome. This film still packs a punch, and I still love watching it. We'd have to wait a little bit longer for Halloween Kills. Initially, it was supposed to come out in 2020, but the pandemic sidelined that, and that was a big disappointment for me. I still remember when that announcement came, and I knew it was coming, but I think this is the movie that I waited for with so much anticipation. And I know that people have issues with this film, especially like the town of Haddonfield, the focus not being on Laurie, the fact that it moves to Tommy Doyle, the Anthony Michael Hall's portrayal of Tommy Doyle being the main focus in terms of him being the main character you're following, along with Lonnie, played by Robert Longstreet. And then you also have, of course, Andy Matichak returning. You have the classic characters of Brackett and Marion Chambers and Lindsay Wallace, all of these people banding together to take down Michael Myers. The opening of this is absolutely incredible. the flashback to 1978 is one of my favorite moments in any Halloween film. Just the way they captured it, the lighting, the costuming, the way they rebuilt the Myers house on a soundstage. It looks exactly like the one that's in Pasadena. I mean, it is identical. And just the whole opening with Loomis showing up, of course, played by, I think his name is Colin Mahan, who did the voice, and then you have Tom Jones Jr.'s performance, and then Christopher Nelson's makeup. They brought Loomis back from the dead, and it still makes me tear up when I watch it now. And just the pan back scene where they pan back and all the officers have Michael cornered. It's a complete homage to that original 1978 film when Michael Myers' parents walk up and take the clown mask off of him after he's killed Judith. I mean, it's beautiful. And I love Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle. I told him that when I met him at Halloween 45. I thought he did a great job. And I was really with him. And I understand, that some people got sick of the Evil Dies Tonight chant, but I think it's a really realistic interpretation of a mob. And the other thing about this film that I think is absolutely the best out of the three is the feel of Halloween. I love that it does feel like Halloween. I just love the way that it's shot. I love the fact that the Myers house is utilized in sort of a really important element throughout the film. I love Big John and Little John. They're also two characters that I adore in this film. And I just love the set piece. When Michael emerges from Laurie's burning house and takes on the entire fire department, I still think that's one of the most amazing Michael Myers moments in the entire franchise. That is iconic when he emerges from that burning house and is pissed off and is just taking these guys out one by one. One of the most amazing set pieces ever. And then you also have the scene where he goes after Phil and Sandra. That scene is amazing. And then, of course, the showdown in the park with Vanessa and Marcus alongside Marion and Lindsay. Another amazing scene. And the final showdown with him and the townspeople of Haddonfield. There's just some terrific moments in this, and the brutality of Michael in this. James G. Courtney and Sharon Armstrong, who plays him in the flashback scenes, both of them do amazing work as the character. Just have so much fun watching this film, and it's such a harsh ending, and I love the extended version of this. I wish the extended version of this would have been the version they put out in theaters, but I know that things changed. Originally, the third film, from my understanding, again, I haven't finished reading the book yet, but from my understanding, the third film was supposed to be taking place on the same night. So all three films were supposed to take place on the same Halloween evening. And I thought that would have been really, really cool, but we didn't get that. But I love this film. I love the gore in it. I love the story. It's a fantastic film to watch, and I have such a blast watching it. It's one of my favorites of the franchise. It's in my top 5 just after Halloween 4, and it is my favorite of the David Gordon Green trilogy. And now we're on to the most divisive, which is Halloween Ends. Now, this last year was in my top 5. It's moved down a little bit. Is the way that I thought that the trilogy should end? No. But I love that they did something different. I do think the marketing was very deceptive. I don't know whose fault that is, if it comes down to the director or the studio or whoever. But, it was billed as this final throwdown between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. And we didn't get that. I mean, we get it, but we get it kind of at the end. This movie is more of a character study about Corey Cunningham. This one really took some drastically different steps. I do wish this one would have continued being the same night as the first two. In this trilogy, I think it would have been really interesting to have 3 movies that all took place on the same Halloween. That would have been really cool. But I respect the filmmakers and the writers for what they did here. They did try something different, almost focusing on more about what is evil and how does evil sort of change shape. That's sort of a tagline that they've used. And the sort of exploring the character of Corey Cunningham and what happens at the beginning of the film when he's babysitting, and then sort of how the town treats him afterwards, and then also how Laurie's being treated after what happened in Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. It's like you see the after effects of these tragedies that have befell these characters and how they're just trying to live their lives, but they're constantly reminded of what happened. They're not able to move on. Kind of, it's a film that's almost passing the torch. Like, it was almost exploring the fact of, Michael is deteriorating from the wounds he suffered in the last two films and aging. And he's kind of living as this, hermit in the bowels of Haddonfield in the sewers. And, it's almost like there's this thing of where the evil that was in him could be passed on to Corey. And that was something that I don't think was fully developed or explored. I think it would have been a better ending had Corey sort of risen back up after seemingly been dead once Michael had been killed off. I think that would have been more interesting than the way that it went. Again, I think there's some really good elements in this. I think Rowan Campbell did a great job as Corey. He was somebody I was invested in. And I still enjoy this film. I like watching all three of them together. A lot of heart went into these films. I don't think they really thought out the second and third film as well as they could have once it was announced. Plus, they ran into issues because of the pandemic and things like that. So, like I said, I love all the Halloween films. I've said it many times. The Halloween franchise is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It's third just behind Psycho and Friday the 13th. But I love this character. I love Michael Myers. I want to see him come back. I know that, just like Sean Clark and Christopher Nelson have said, this is, he's like, it's like Dracula and Frankenstein. These characters are going to go on. They're going to have new stories told about them. This iteration of the character, I think, is done. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this television series they're talking about now. And hopefully we'll see some more movies. I would really like to see a sequel to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I don't know how much of a chance that has, but that film has only grown in popularity over the years, and I would love to see that explored now. Like I said, I just wanted to do something real quick talking about the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy. I want to thank everyone for the continued support. I know I have a lot of comments to get back to, and I want to thank everyone for their time and patience, and I promise I will talk to you again very soon. So I hope everyone has a great Halloween. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Hey, my fellow Fright Fiends, I just want to thank everyone for supporting Boogeyman Ben's Horror Zone. If you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to, please hit the subscribe button down below. Click the bell notification so you're updated every time I drop a new video. I try to drop a video at least once or twice a week. The Horror Zone is a passion of mine, and it really makes me happy that I can share that passion with all of you guys. Thanks so much again for the support, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Peace.